We are recording. So
Right.
you're going to show us some of the latest stuff you've been doing with rnode and
Yeah, so I was thinking we would just give it another pass. We tried it last Thursday and had some success, but not a ton. And I've been reading the docs, and Jeremy Busk was just giving me some help on Discord. So I think we might be able to get something rolling. Should I try the screen share, you think?
Sure.
Great. All right. So this is, unrehearsed basically, but I think we'll be able to work through some of the material here. So I guess I'll just clear my screen to start with. And so this is, I can't see my command past my my Zoom tools. I wonder if I can move
You can move them. You can move them.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Got it. All right, great. So this is the command I've been running, and I'll sort of walk us through it, I guess. But one important part is that I'm using the dev version. It just seemed like in the Discord log from the official node stand-ups, that's basically what they're using. I don't know if that's going to change next week after 0.5 comes out. Maybe they'll stick with something stable for a little while. But I guess for today, maybe we'll just do dev. Okay, so I'm currently in this folder. It's home/Joshi is my own home folder, and documents RChain is where I just do all my RChain work. So in there, I created this directory structure.
Share your screen.
Oh, it's not shared? I thought it was shared. Have you not seen it yet?
Well, you showed it the first moment, but then then it stopped.
Sorry, okay. It must have ended when I moved those tools. I'd love to get those out of my way so I can.
Yeah, we see the screen.
Okay, you see my terminal now?
Okay, so you basically did a Docker pull of RChain.
Yeah, so let's do it right now. Docker pull rchain/rnode, and I'm going to do dev.
Okay, and we could have done latest or
Yep, that's another valid tag. In fact, maybe we can try that now if you want to, or I'll just.
That's okay. It doesn't matter which one we try.
I want to do dev because that's what I was working on. But then, like I was saying, maybe after 0.5 comes out, they'll encourage people to stick with latest for the moment. But anyway, apparently I have the most up-to-date version of both of them. So what I was about to say was I'm in my sort of RChain work folder, and then in there I made varlib rnode. Okay, so that's all pretty standard. So following the advice that we've seen before, I do docker network create, and then I give it a name. So I'm just going to call mine JoshiNet. You can call it rnode network or my network or whatever you want. We're just basically making a simulated network here so that our various instances of rnode can communicate just like they will in the real blockchain environment. And so this is telling me that network already exists, and that's just because I've created it already. So when you run this command for the first time, it'll say something like successfully created, or maybe it just gives you a hash, I think. I don't remember, but I've got that network working properly. So here's the basic command, and I'll run through it a little at a time. So we're invoking Docker. And with Docker, we're going to run some kind of Docker image that I haven't yet told it. We want to, within the container, be root, but this is not like real root on the local system. This is just within the Docker container. I guess that's temporary. Jeremy Busk was saying he wasn't sure why they had required that, but for the time being, it's probably best to just test with that. And it's not such a egregious security breach because it's only within the container, which is nice. -IT, I bet a Docker person could tell you what that means. I actually don't know what it means. -V means I'm going to mount this volume. And so remember, I've already made my local varlib rnode, and I'm going to make that available to the Docker container at varlib rnode. So this is going to take care of that error message that always says, like, you have to create the data directory and it has to have the right permissions and everything. So it's basically the same as what David was telling us to do last time. So now finally we tell it what Docker image we want to run, and that's the one we just discussed, RChain rnode dev. And the remaining arguments are not Docker arguments. So this run-s stuff, that's not for Docker. That's what I'm actually passing in to the rnode container that's running within Docker. And so maybe first I'll do, dash help so that we can see the official options. Okay, great. So this all looks good. We've actually got output. And this is the first time that I know of, it might have been this way for about a week, that the rnode commands have changed significantly. So we used to talk about running rnode -- standalone, for example. And this may be the problem we ran into last time, because now rnode has subcommands. So most of the ones we did before are going to be rnode run -- standalone. So you can see that here is standalone. And it's an option for the subcommand run. Okay, fine. And there's a bunch of other ones in here that we can do, but for the sake of keeping this concise and getting people running, I think that's all I'll talk about probably. So instead of running help this time, I'll do what I talked about. I'm going to docker run standalone, and that's the same as if I had just done -s. Okay, so this is all good. Notice it says it found the data directory. It's not giving me permission errors or anything. It didn't find a certificate, so it created one for me. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. And now it's still coming up, and it takes longer than I'd like, but it's going, you know, everything's fine here. If we were not in standalone mode, right now we'd be looking for peers or trying to contact a bootstrap node or something like that. But since I specified standalone, it gives me this. Starting a standalone node, and nothing else is going to happen here. But hooray, it's running. That's more than we've done before.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, right. So that's good, right? So what can we do with it? Well, you know, not a ton with just a running node. And you notice that when I ran it here, I didn't give it a name or put it in my network or anything. So this node is kind of isolated all by itself. So I'm going to kill it. I did Control-C there. Notice it shuts down cleanly. It says it's shutting down this and that. It gives me a goodbye and a couple more log messages. So everything shut down nice and clean, just like we would want. So I'm going to clear my screen. And this time when we start the thing, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it rnode server, and I'm going to give it a network. And remember, I called my virtual network here JoshyNet. So we've added all of those. And this is my one sort of beef with Docker, is that the commands are so darn long. So it's all the same stuff as before. We're Docker running. We're going to be root. We're calling this thing we're running rnode server. It's in the JoshyNet network, and then all the same junk as before. So it's still coming up just fine, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna give us the same log messages, and it's gonna say, you know, nothing. It's basically gonna wait for rnode stuff to happen. So what I'm actually gonna do is create another terminal. This one, the stuff we were just looking at is still over here. Notice it all came up and looks great. It looks like it got our Genesis stuff fine. We've got all these bonds for validators. And now we're in standalone mode, so it's just going to wait for us to do something, like, for example, run some row line code. So I'm in another terminal now. Remember, the old one's still here. Here's the new one. And we're going to do a really similar command. We're going to docker run, see how much of this I can remember. We're going to -u as root. We're going to give it a name, and this time I'm going to call it the REPL. So last time I called it rnode server, but this time I'm calling it REPL. And we're gonna put it in the same network, which was JoshyNet. Oh, we gotta get this in here somewhere, whatever it does. We're gonna mount the volume. Oh, and I forgot, this actually needs, I believe we need a separate var lib rnode, so that was clearly an invalid command. Let me get to where I want to be here. Documents, RChain. So if I list what's in my RChain folder, you can see here's var. that's where I had created var lib rnode for my actual node. So let me go into var lib. Here's my rnode folder. I'm going to create a new one. We'll just call it rnode 2. Okay, so now I can try to run that Docker command again. -v var lib rnode. Okay. So I'm in rnode 2. I'm going to mount my local rnode 2 folder as var lib rnode for my new sort of like REPL client. Maybe we can explore this. I don't know if this is technically necessary if I'm only using a thin client like the REPL. It might only be necessary for an actual node, but it's done now. It won't hurt anything. And we're going to do RChain /rnode dev. And this time, instead of run, we're going to do the REPL. Let me look back at the command there. So the sub command is just REPL. So instead, I'm just going to do that. Okay, let's see what happens. Wow, this looks pretty promising. So let's see if we can run some row line code. Maybe we will @standard out. This is my version of Hello World. I like this because it's a lot simpler than the one in the official tutorial. Hi, David. Welcome.
Hey guys.
Hi David, how you doing?
I'm cool. It seems you guys have gone so far.
Well, we were we were trying, and we just hit our first speed bump. We were trying to run the REPL. So I have a node running in Docker over here. It's actually running successfully, and that's new for me. But I didn't.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I got the REPL to start, but I didn't quite get the REPL to communicate with the node correctly. So I tried to run this Rowlang code, but I got some kind of status runtime exception. And
okay, I think the newer versions of the rnode are having similar issues because I've tested this on even the latest version and the testing version and even the dev version, which is what you're using now. And I also got this error. I've reported it to the but I haven't gotten any response yet. So the older versions work fine, but I don't know why this version doesn't work. Doesn't work fine.
You've gotten the REPL to communicate with the node via Docker using like latest, for example.
Yeah, I've done that. It doesn't work. Also, it throws the same.
It also doesn't work. It also doesn't work. Okay, that's interesting. I think I'll stop my share here.
Okay. Yeah, great job.
I think you're muted, Jim.